Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? And we're right on the floor in Barcelona, Spain, hanging out with Alcatel at MWC 2018. What we have here are a few different phones, all part of the same lineup. I will tell you what the differences are between all of them, but you can see already that the design on all three can be a little bit different. The Alcatel 3, which is the base level one, has just one camera on the back with a fingerprint sensor, and then the other two have either different size screens or different cameras. Let's start off with the Alcatel 3. This is a 5.5-inch HD Plus panel up front with an 18:9 display, as all of the phones happen to have this 18:9 aspect ratio. It also has 2.5D glass, and on the back is a matted finish. Now, like we said, the display is 5.5 inches, but it's HD+, that's 1440 by 720 resolution. Underneath the surface, you have 16 gigabytes of onboard storage with 2 gigabytes of RAM, which means that it is definitely a little bit more in the mid-range to almost budget category. But there is a micro SD card slot. Aside from that, you have a MediaTek 6739 quad-core processor, but it does come with Android Oreo, which means that you have the latest edition of the Android operating system with all of the features lying underneath. The fingerprint reader is there for security measures, but you are also able to do something called Face Key. Now, the Face Key is basically face unlock, and it tracks 100 different points of your face after it does its initial setup, after which you just have to wake the phone by hitting the power button, look at the device, and it should be able to unlock immediately. Now, the camera of the Alcatel 3 in particular is not too special compared to the other two. You have a 13 megapixel rear camera at f2.0 aperture with a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. But let's go ahead and bump things up by moving over to the Alcatel 3X. It's a little bit larger, it's more the middle child when it comes to all three of these phones, and it comes with the same 18:9 aspect ratio screen, but this time it is at a size of 5.7 inches. It is still HD+, 1440 by 720, but all of the specs get a slight bump up. There is a version with 32 gigabytes of onboard storage and 3 gigabytes of RAM. Now, the claim to fame for the 3X is a dual camera system, where one of them is a 13 megapixel camera, but the other camera is a 5 megapixel wide-angle lens. Using the wide angle obviously will allow for better shots that fit everything in, like group shots or having landscapes. Obviously, this is a slightly larger device, so handling is going to be a bit different there, but it also has a matted finish on the back, but you can see that it has that dual camera setup with the fingerprint reader underneath, but it also retains all of the same features from the Alcatel 3, including the fingerprint sensor on top of having the Face Key. And inside of the camera app, as all of these phones have, is that social mode that allows you to do things like photo booth and also live collages. And finally, we have the Alcatel 3V, arguably the most premium of the bunch, depending on what features you really need out of the camera. Now, as the 3X has a wide-angle camera, the 3V has a depth-sensing extra lens that allows for better detail capture, but also allows for a portrait mode. The cameras come at a 12 megapixel power, along with the depth sensor, which is a 2 megapixel shooter. This is also the largest of the bunch, which is a 6-inch 2K panel at 2160 by 1080, definitely making it the most premium of the bunch, and it also has a glossy finish on the back, making it really shine compared to the other two. The specifications underneath include 32 gigabytes of onboard storage and 2 gigabytes of RAM, but this time you have the MediaTek 8735A as the processor. We continue to have all of the same general specifications here across the board, only you have some bumps up depending on the screen and also the camera. So this was a look at all of the different Alcatel 3 phones. There are three of them here, the 3, the 3X, and the 3V. Depending on what your needs are, all of these phones are going to come in at a pretty low price point, especially out here in Europe where it is going to be released, and you can see which one kind of fits your needs the best because you're still going to get the same Android experience underneath. All of these phones also come with 3000 milliamp hour batteries, so you can get about the same battery life across the board, except for the 3V, which does sport that 2K display. Keep it tuned to Android Authority for all of the best from MWC 2018 as we bring you everything that we see here on the show floor and also just around the city, like today when we were hanging out with Alcatel. Keep it tuned to Android Authority and head on over to AndroidAuthority.com to see more, because we are your source for all things Android.